You've all heard me talk about My Pillow and Mike Lindell and how his pillows have literally changed my life. Go to mypillow.com and click on the radio listeners square. There you'll find deep discounts on all My Pillow products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets. Don't forget to use the promo code Carter. I guess the terrorists are here on our national soil. And guess what, folks? It's us. It's Americans. I mean, that's what I've been hearing all week, right? I just can't even begin to fathom what is happening here in our nation. I can't even begin under all of my wildest, craziest thoughts and dreams. I would have never imagined that in the United States of America, that senior officials from the U.S. government would be creating a scenario to divide our nation and to target American citizens, because this is exactly what they're doing. Remember on my earlier podcast, I talked about dehumanizing a whole group of people. They're going far beyond this. They're setting a stage. In war, we call it mission creep. And I'm going to be talking about that on today's podcast because we absolutely have to pay attention to this. If you care about your freedom, if you care about the Fourth Amendment, if you care about the Constitution, the First Amendment, if you care about America and the Bill of Rights, you are going to want to hear this podcast. You will not want to miss it. I absolutely believe that it is that important. And I'm also going to be taking you into Central America. I have a very special guest. Mario Duarte is here. He was the former head of intelligence in Guatemala. He is somebody that I spent a lot of time with on the ground in Central America. I'm going to bring you into that fold and tell you what's going to be happening to our country over the next 4 years when it comes to immigration. So you don't want to miss it. But before I get there, today's podcast is sponsored by the Association of Mature American Citizens, folks. The only conservative alternative to AARP. Go to amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/CARTER. So where do I start? We always talk about freedom on the show. You and I, as Americans, that is something that we cherish. That is something that our forefathers, our family members, my husband, who's a soldier, my brother who served in the Army, my father who was in the Marine Corps in World War II, my grandfather who fought in Europe in World War I, believe it or not. I never met him. He was much older and passed away long before I was ever born, but fought in the Rainbow Brigade in World War I. They fought because they actually believed in protecting this beautiful land, this beautiful idea of America, right? From tyrants and dictators. And they didn't want to see our nation turn into what we see overseas. I mean, especially imagine back then with the rise of the Soviet Empire. Remember the Iron Curtain and how it spread across the globe and how people, their ideas and their beliefs and their political leanings and their religious leanings, everything was stifled. They weren't allowed to freely express themselves. My mother, who was in Cuba at the rise of Fidel Castro, right? And Che Guevara and all the big promises that these two communist rebel rousers made to the people. Oh, we're going to have elections. You're going to have a much better society. We're all going to be one. There's going to be equality. And then there was none. And then there was an island locked off from the rest of the world with people suffering, except for those that were willing to kiss the ass of the elitist communist party. Those people, they were fine. They were turning in their neighbors. They were maybe not perfect, but they had it a lot better than the people that were actually standing up for what was right. And now in America, we are literally seeing this happen. And I'm not just going to say this. I'm not just over exaggerating this. It's starting what I called in the beginning mission creep, right? Mission creep is when you start hearing rumors of things like there's an escalation of violence outside of Kabul. There's been a targeted attack somewhere outside of Baghdad. There's a this, there's a that. I want you to listen to this clip, this sound clip. This is my favorite person, right? I'm going to I know it's your favorite person too. The former head of the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America, that is made to work on foreign soil and it should have nothing to do with the United States. You can't even imagine what he's done here. He has crossed so many lines. John Brennan, I want you to hear what John Brennan is saying about the intel community and the new Biden administration.
So I know looking forward that the members of the Biden team who have been nominated or have been appointed are now moving in laser-like fashion to try to uncover as much as they can about what looks very similar to insurgency movements that we've seen overseas, where they germinate in different parts of the country and they gain strength, and it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
Even libertarians. Oh, Green Party members. Oh, PETA members. Wait, Americans. Listen to what this man, who, by the way, voted for the Communist Party. I still can't get over that, how he got into the CIA, and now he is saying that, we don't need to worry about our enemies overseas. We need to worry about the enemies inside our country, the 75 million Americans. Look, I want unity. I do. I don't want to see our nation divided like this. I want to see us get along again. I want to see us talk and debate ideas without wanting to tear each other apart. Nobody wants that. But you have to take a step back and look who's feeding that. Who is feeding that hatred? Who is feeding that animosity? I'm going to take a little side tour here. It's going to be very quick. But I want you to think about this. And I've talked about it maybe once or twice before with you, but it's about Rwanda and the genocide in Rwanda. Do you know what instigated the genocide in Rwanda that led to the deaths of over 800,000 people, human beings, children, babies, neighbors killing neighbors? The radio station in Kigali. Rwanda. That's what did it. It was a constant push of they're your enemy. The Hutus were telling the, other Hutus that the Tutsis were the enemy, that this tribe versus that tribe. And before you knew it, they hated each other so much. And guess who supplied the weapons? The Chinese. Machetes. Read about it. Just go on Google one day and just read about the genocide in Rwanda. Read about what people who used to love each other, who were living next door to one another, who would celebrate together, or maybe they really didn't even know each other. Maybe they didn't care, some neighbors, but how they turned on one another and there was a genocide. Read about that history. My God, with these former officials, who, by the way, were both Bush officials and Obama officials, they worked in both administrations, not all of them, what they are doing to this country, what they are doing to you and me, we need to call them out on it. This was insane. And Jenny Terry, she writes for us at SaraCarter.com and does incredible work at my foundation, the Dark Wire and Investigation Foundation. She sent me this story today. What to know about extremist groups involved in the Capitol attack. And believe it or not, they are throwing into that mix Charlie Kirk's group. Right? Turning Point USA. I cannot believe this. I am actually an honorary board member of Turning Point USA. Wonderful, wonderful young people. Wonderful, amazing Americans learning. Not perfect. Nothing is perfect. Right? Nothing. But it's ideas. It's a place to share ideas. I'm going to read this to you. This is from this story. And it says, as Democrats and Republicans voted to impeach President Donald Trump, the FBI, guys, the FBI should be vetted. But let's talk about this. The FBI is warning of plans for armed protests at state capitals in all 50 states ahead of Inauguration Day. Lies. Did you guys see that? Here and there, people are protesting. They are working to scare people from actually speaking their mind. They are dehumanizing people. They are ostracizing an entire group of people in this country, 75 million people who are now going to be afraid to say, I supported Trump, because they're going to be afraid that they're going to be called terrorists. And I'm going to tell you why they're doing this. It's not just to ostracize them. This isn't some kind of haphazard thing that happens. It is for a reason, and it's to expand their powers over you. That means to violate your Fourth Amendment rights. And I'm going to explain that to you in a second. Let me finish reading this. The deadly storming of the U.S. Capitol 1 week ago brought together many extremist organizations, from right-wing militias to members of the Proud Boys. Because just like Brennan says, right? It's libertarians. It's religious people. It's those people that go to church. It's you. Why are you going to church? Oh, you Baptist? You Episcopalian? Oh my gosh, look at that Catholic family. They must be terrorists. Oh, are you going to synagogue? You mean you guys are going to church while there is a COVID pandemic that, by the way, you're not allowed to question, not allowed to gather, not allowed to sit with your families? Oh, wait, remember Portland? They were going to turn you in if more than this many people, more than 6, more than 10, show up at your house. Please feel free to turn in your neighbor. Go back to Rwanda, folks. Go back to Kigali. This is dangerous. It is unacceptable, and it is wrong. Let me read you the quote now. This is great. This is unbelievable to me. You had a lot of groups ranging from the Proud Boys to the Oath Keepers to the 3 Percenters to Turning Point USA. Different groups like that who are showing up at the Capitol and mingling, frankly, with others who are just there to protest. They're mingling. The Turning Point crew, they're mingling. That created this type of mob mentality that was going on. I was there. This person, David Goldenberg, he's the Midwest Regional Director for the Anti-Defamation League, is lying. Turning Point USA says its group was not there, but a separate affiliated student group, TP Action, did attend the president's speech. Let me tell you this, even if they were there, I was there. I walked through with my friends earlier at 10 a.m., down through the crowds. It was just regular Americans. Don't be afraid to say you were there. Don't be afraid to say you voted for President Trump. As far as I know, this is still the United States of America, and we are still allowed to have a voice, and we are still allowed to speak out against things and speak up for things that we believe in. We are the United States of America. But wait, it's even worse than what I thought. Remember, I told you it was like worse than my worst nightmares? Brennan's in my worst nightmares, because I just frankly cannot believe how much this man's gotten away with. And of course, we don't have a DOJ to hold anybody accountable or any oversight. And who the heck is going to arrest or do anything with any of these senior officials because they're all powerful, I guess, right now, right? So, but I want you to hear this. This is Stanley McChrystal. This is former head of ISAF, General Stanley McChrystal, kissing ass once again to the extension of the Obama administration coming in. And then I'll explain to you why I know this.
White men started losing ground. They started losing their privileged position. And what that meant was they lost some of it to the equal rights movement for gender, for women. They lost some of it to the civil rights movement. They lost some of it to the globalization of the economy. So the relatively and maybe undeserved privileged position that a white worker had for generations was suddenly under threat. And that caused great frustration. That caused a sense of loss. And we've seen that for several decades now. It was also matched by fear that they would be displaced in society, in fact, be in a position of the oppressed, vice the oppressor, such as they had seen minorities before. And so when you put together frustration and fear, you get the combination of desperation, or you get the output of desperation. And so suddenly they become fertile ground for accepting things that they want to believe.
Here's a man that I remember meeting in Afghanistan. I can't even remember the year right now off the top of my head, but it was a trip. I had gone to Afghanistan. By the way, to ISAF, I was heading there first. So I landed in Kabul. I took this crazy flight, because I couldn't get in on one of the military contractor flights that month. And I can't remember why, but I was on Ariana Airlines or one of the local local yokel airlines flying over the Hindu Kush. It was so crazy. I did not trust these aircraft. So the thing I was worried about was like that movie Alive, that I would crash in the Hindu Kush and my God, people would start eating me. And if it was Taliban, forget it. I was going to go on the run. Find me any mountain cave in the Hindu Kush. I was going to hide. So I'm on this crazy flight into Kabul, right? And we land at Kabul, and I'm supposed to be meeting with ISAF officials from the press office. They're supposed to be there to pick me up because, by the way, I am the only woman on this plane, right? With all these men, I don't even know who they are. I don't even know who these guys are. They don't want to sit next to me because I'm a woman. I'm on this plane. I'm landing, and now I'm all by myself with my gear in the middle of this international airport that is crawling with people, some of them probably terrorists, or connected, and people that I'm unusual. I am a woman in Afghanistan with my gear and nobody there to pick me up. And I've got a bunch of guys staring me down. So guess what else I don't have? I don't have a phone, right? Because I haven't purchased my phone yet in Afghanistan. You get these little flip phones that you can buy and you can buy minutes on them and all kinds of things. And I have no way of communicating with anyone. So I can't even call. Am I going to take a taxi? I don't know. No, probably not. So I'm walking around now getting into a little bit of a state of hyperventilation, how the hell am I going to get out of this one? And I see these two soldiers off in the distance. They weren't American soldiers. They were British soldiers. They were actually SAS soldiers. And they were looking at me like, what the heck are you doing here? Now, granted, I do have my head covered, but I look like an American. I look like, and I flew into the airport and I'm just standing around by myself. They come up, they talk to me. They figure out that I'm an American journalist. They start having heart palpitations because they're like, oh shit, this could get really bad. They are there to pick up a dignitary. They contact ISAF and read them the riot act and say, why wasn't anyone here to pick up? Oh, they forgot me. They forgot an American journalist at the airport. So, I get to ISAF with the British soldiers and I go into the main ISAF headquarters and there's General McChrystal. And thank him for his service because he has served our nation. This I just can't believe. And I'll explain you why I say what he's saying there is just a bunch of malarkey so that he can get in some type of foundation or group so he could work with the Biden administration because he is a full-fledged politician. That's what he is, more than he is a general. So he talks to me, is joking around. And I remember I had requested a one-on-one with him that year. I had done it with McKiernan and others in Afghanistan, and I didn't get a yay from him. I got kind of an A, we're not going to be able to do an interview. And I said to him, we were pouring coffee and we were talking. I said, why didn't you give me the interview? I've interviewed, the other commanders, ISAF commanders. And he said, oh, it's not because of you. It's because I gave the exclusive to Rolling Stone. And for all of you out there that remember Rolling Stone and what happened with McChrystal, that's what got him fired. President Obama basically fired him because he was talking smack about the Obama administration and he got caught. And now he's, basically, I don't know what he's doing, what he thinks, how this is going to be any good for our nation. He's basically talking this type of divisive talk, trying to say white men are so desperate. Was he desperate? He's a general. How desperate was he? He's a white man. What is this talk? What is this craziness? This is called Washington, D.C. ass kissing at its finest, so that he can, basically get in with the good graces of the Biden administration and then give them some terrible advice. Because, by the way, Afghanistan is and was the longest war, and we're just, I don't even know, never getting out of there. I have no idea. I don't even know if Biden's going to wrap it up or if he's going to add more troops. So who knows what's going to happen with that. And now I have one more quick clip I want to play you. And this is General Austin. He's the new guy. Just listen to this and I'll explain who he is in a second.
We also owe our people a working environment free of discrimination, hate, and harassment. And if confirmed, I will fight hard to stamp out sexual assault and to rid our ranks of racists and extremists and to create a climate where everyone fit and willing has the opportunity to serve this country with dignity.
Oh my gosh. This is retired General Lloyd Austin. And he is vowing to eradicate extremism in the ranks. Guys, stop and think about this. We saw a tragic situation on January 6th. It was not good. Nobody wants to see that. We also just saw riots in Portland where they targeted immigration and customs enforcement, they being Antifa as well, marching on the streets. We've seen police cars burned down. We saw the same activity from the left in a weird way. Okay, it wasn't in the Capitol, but it was on the streets of Washington, D.C. all summer. We saw it as well when President Trump was inaugurated in 2016, people freaking out. And then 30 people, or it was over 25. I want to be exact here, died over the summer in relation to riots in our country. But now we have white extremists like marching everywhere. They're in our ranks, guys. They're in our army. They're in, our Coast Guard. They're in the Marine Corps. They're flying in airplanes in our skies. I mean, this is just a white nationalist Nazi army just crawling across America. It is all lies. Our military, there are always there are bad apples everywhere. There were people inside the military, by the way. Remember the Fort Hood shooter? Remember that guy? Yeah? He was an Islamist extremist. He was an Islamist. Say it again. He was a psychologist who people had warned about. Went to Fort Hood and then he targeted people, killed people in cold blood. That didn't mean that there were thousands of Muslim soldiers inside our ranks ready to take us all down, right? And let's be real here. We've seen all the videos of all these different people that went into the Capitol, and it was just such a bizarre, weird situation where there wasn't enough security, where some people were pushing their way in and trampling, and others were just being let in, and some were walking around with the cops, even the guy with the horns, insurrectionist. The insurrectionist. I literally saw a video where he was like walking in with a cop. He looked like something out of like some crazy cartoon. I don't even know what was going on with that guy. He's the organic eater that basically has fought for organic food in prison now. And so I want you to understand. I know I'm getting very frustrated and animated here over this, but this is so dangerous for our country. These are perpetuated lies, and the media is not asking the right questions because the media, for the most part, is playing along with this because this is what they have pushed. This is what most of, and I don't like saying mainstream, I would say major media news outlets that we've relied on in the past have been pushing for a long time. This is something that we have to be very, very cautious with. I have Mario Duarte here with me today on the show. He is amazing. He's not only a friend, he was head of Guatemalan intelligence. Look at that. I was out there in the field with the head of the former head of Guatemala's intelligence apparatus. He's right now president for Latin America with it's STRYK, Strict Global Diplomacy. And he is here to talk to me, to talk to you in a few moments about what is happening in Central America and the flood of immigrants coming into this country, or heading at least to the United States. Mario, my friend, thank you so much for joining me on the Sara Carter Show. Mario Duarte with Strict Global. Tell me about this. What is this new role of yours? Last time, folks, that I saw Mario, we were in Guatemala together. We were in a helicopter flying over the jungle. He was head of Guatemalan intelligence, did incredible work for both Guatemala and the relationship with the United States, made it stronger than ever. And now you're with Strict Global. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, thanks, Sarah. Well, basically, as you know, I have dual citizenship, and the work I did for the United States, and then when I moved back to Guatemala, I guess it allowed me to have this kind of capabilities and abilities at the end that could help some companies with their outreach and their business development around the globe. I came across Robert Strick, who is a great guy, my boss, and we found a big market in Latin America. And the way it is Strick, basically how it's called, global diplomacy. We find new ways to actually get countries, closer and get people to fix their problems in the United States.
Well, that's exactly where I'm heading with this, because now we see after, President Biden now inaugurated a whole new change in the United States from the policies that we saw with President Trump to now these very new and different policies, especially dealing with immigration. And when I was in Guatemala, of course, it was under the Trump administration with you, and we were monitoring and watching the caravans that were coming from Honduras. Now, over the weekend, we saw this last weekend, huge influx of thousands of people, migrants, moving from Honduras through the Guatemalan border. And this is about security issues, too, for the people that are there, who I believe are being used and utilized as part of this political game. And for the governments that are having to deal with this, both Guatemala in the United States and Mexico. Talk a little bit about that and how many people were coming through.
Well, this thing with the caravans, like I told you before, the way I see it, it is the weaponizing of those in need. People are being manipulated to join these caravans, obviously, because they have a need. They need a job. There is no opportunities here in Central America, or not enough opportunities for them. So they are just trying to find a way to get to the American dream, which is still there. It's still an ideal, still what people want. That's why the United States is still the country where everyone wants to go, right? They don't want to go to Cuba. They don't want to go to Venezuela. They don't want to go to China. They want to go to the United States. And these people, like I said, they are being weaponized because they have a need. And as long as there is someone offering them something, they'll do whatever it takes, right? They'll join the caravans. They'll act, violently. That's what we just saw here in Guatemala a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've seen. I'm pretty well. You've seen the videos.
Explain to everyone that's listening here in the United States what exactly happened from the ground in Guatemala, because you had a very up close and personal look at what was going on.
So basically, this caravan, it's calculated that it reached a little bit above 9,000 people. What they did is they broke it in parts, like 3,000 and then another group of 3,000. And as they approached the border with Guatemala, they became violent. They didn't want to go through the entire process of registering themselves, taking a COVID test, make sure it was negative, which is another thing we need to talk about. And they just broke through the border. We had a police line, we had our security forces at the border, and they just pushed through. They broke it. They came into the country. They violated the Guatemalan national sovereignty, and they started, going through our roads. At some point, they just sat down in the middle of the road, caused huge traffic jams that lasted about 8 hours. And they didn't, at the end, we needed to send police with now actual capacity to really get them to, obey the law at the end. Most of them went back. Unfortunately, now we are hearing that there is another caravan getting together in Honduras, even bigger. Again, what's going to happen with them, or what are they going to do, how they're going to behave at the end or act. And the problem here is that these big caravans are becoming pretty much uncontrollable. People cannot handle them. The governments cannot handle them. So what's going to happen when they come to the southern border of the United States?
Well, and that's a big concern. And everybody's been talking about that here, Mario. Let me ask you this. With the caravans that you're seeing come through, you did say that there was issues with COVID. You did say that they pushed their way through. How are they moving their way from Honduras to the Guatemalan border? Because this was our big question the last time I was in Guatemala with you. A lot of them looked clean. They didn't look like they had been walking for days on end. They looked that some of them came in buses. What's going on here? How are they making their way to the border? I noticed that some of them all had the same backpacks. Even in this video, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, which is a group, I guess it's like NGO, Towns Without Borders, is demanding that they be let into the United States as well. What is your, intelligence, so to speak, on what is going on there?
At the end, in intelligence, when you actually assess some sort of threat, be it foreign or domestic, there is something called a threat equation, right? And you take three things into account: intention, capability, and opportunity. And the thing is that with the caravans, they meet all three. They have the opportunity to come into different countries, in this case, Guatemala, Mexico, and the United States, if they are trying to. Then capability, obviously, they have it. They've proved they can do it. And then intention. They are doing it. Now we know they intend to actually get to the southern border. Now, when they know that they are carrying, unfortunately, in this case, a virus inside a huge caravan, right? Guatemala tested several people. The first batch of tests, 100% of them were resulted positive. Now you're talking about a huge mass of people that are most likely contaminated with COVID-19. They've become not only a focus of contagion, but also a direct vector of contagion. That means people will go to certain places and that will just spread like crazy. So once these things are met in this equation, you can talk about now that you are facing an actual threat. So these caravans are a threat now to the national security of three different countries because they have an intent to actually violate their sovereignty. They just want to come through. It doesn't matter what they do. They have also this thing with the COVID-19. They are an actual threat to also the health and the safety of the countries. And at the end, also to the people, we are seeing, some of these migrants, obviously they are in need. They are looking for a better opportunity, but a lot of them are also criminals. According to some intelligence sources, not only Guatemalan, but also Honduras and El Salvador, they estimate that 1,000 gang members are infiltrating these caravans, plus countless, human traffickers, coyotes. A lot of them are carrying weapons. A lot of them are carrying drugs. That's now you're talking about transnational crime and transnational organized crime because now they know what they are doing. Someone is handling them. Someone is organizing them. There is no other way to look at this. I understand the part that, from a humane perspective, these are people in need, but not the organizers, not the people behind them, not the ones helping them, not the ones telling them where to go, who to talk to in certain places, feeding them, giving them money. Yes, some people, out of, like I said, humanity or sense of humanity, help them, but someone is behind them and someone is pulling the strings.
Do we have any idea who is doing that? I mean, we know that the Mexican cartels might be playing a role, or the trafficking. Are the cartels both from Central America? If we go all the way to El Salvador and Honduras, are there any connections between the cartels or the political players that are making this happen? Because this is a very political move too, right? Sure, I mean, correct. This could be like, you better take care of me and do what I need, or I'm sending a bunch of caravans over to the U.S. border. And right now, Obrador in Mexico is saying, hey, look, I'm moving buses to our border and we're going to bus them back. How do you organize these caravans? They don't just happen naturally. People aren't just jumping on board. I mean, there's something happening here because there's no war right now, right? There's no natural disaster. I mean, to that extent, right? Other than poverty and economy. But I mean, there's nothing really going on that would cause this influx right now, right? Or am I?
Well, we had those two, tropical depressions, Iota and the other one, that you could say, on paper, a lot of people say, yeah, this is enough reason for the United States to take them in and do this and do that. The thing is that the lack of opportunities here is something more systemic in the region. We're not going to get into what are the reasons and the root causes of this. There are many. Here at the end, you're talking about, again, intention, opportunity, capability. In this case, with the cartels, they're just, taking advantage of a specific opportunity, a huge channel of people coming through uncontrolled through Guatemala and Mexico, right?
Explain how dangerous they are. Explain how dangerous they are, because I don't think Americans really get the gist of the threat, not just to us guys. This is about the people that are in these caravans, the children that are exposed to dangerous pedophiles and traffickers and the women who are exposed the same way, and young boys and men who are exposed to dangers that you can't even imagine or fathom from your homes here in the U.S. You probably can't even understand what they are going through because it's so horrific.
So think about it. Let's start with the caravans and the people, right? These are poor people that are being taken advantage of. They are being manipulated. Obviously, they are being offered something, offered the opportunity to reach the American dream, manipulating what there is, in the United States, what politically has been said, that they are going to be giving asylum, that they are going to be giving amnesty. It's not that easy. They are being, like I said, in this case, manipulated and fooled and lied to. Several times they're also offered cash, cold cash in their hand, whatever, be it for the trip or just because they can give it to someone at home and for their kids. Some of them are just going to go all the way to the border and then come back. They don't want to go there.
Right.
At the end, it's some cash for them or just threats as well. With the gangs, you never know. They could just control a neighborhood, entire neighborhood or poor neighborhood in Honduras and tell them, listen, guys, you each send me one member of your family in this caravan or else. There are just too many things in this case about these poor people that are being manipulated or forced to join these caravans.
You've actually rescued children. You and your men actually rescued children from the caravans that were being used.
They just were thrown in there by their parents or their guardians. They just they follow this group. And when we found them in Guatemala, this is last year, in 2019, these kids were they just told me to walk with these people, and here I am, and I want to go home. I want to be with my mommy, with my daddy, with my grandma. And obviously our authorities here took care of them and sent them back to Honduras. Now think about it, where from the political perspective and who is behind this. Now, those are the real criminals, because you're talking about kids, children, women, young women being exposed to all these pedophiles, these heartless cartel members and you just have to look at Homeland Security statistics on their websites. How many of those Latino girls that reach the border coming, raped multiple times with STDs, some of them even pregnant, that's what these kids are exposed to. Then you're talking about the elderly. A lot of them don't make it all the way over there. They just, they're used as whatever, cannon fodder, in Mexico or by the cartels anywhere. And it's just a very, very miserable situation to do it. And to think about that there are people using these poor individuals as a political statement, as a private picketing army. In my book, that could be even called genocide, manipulating these people actually because they know they'll die. A lot of them will die, on the trip. To me, that's genocide because they are targeting a specific group of people from a specific country. So those people organizing it should be looked at, investigated very harshly. And they are not only in Honduras, not only in Guatemala, not only in Mexico. A lot of them are in the United States. There is also a lot in Europe and other countries. And a lot of them are unfortunately hidden inside multilateral agencies as well.
That's a really great point. Right now, President Biden is saying, okay, don't come yet. We're not ready for you just yet. It's definitely a 360, right? Or 180, right? From what President Trump had in the United States as far as his policy with Central America, Mexico, and dealing with immigration. This behavior is perpetuated because we don't follow the law. That's what I believe. I think that if you follow the law, you don't perpetuate the behavior, right? The cartels know they can't mess with you. If you don't let people in whenever you want and you have some kind of rules and regulations, I'm not saying that we shouldn't expand immigration. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have immigration reform, but I'm saying that if we just continually allow the flow and say, okay, once you're in here illegal, then we're just going to go ahead and do whatever we can for you, then it's never going to stop. The cartels are always going to take advantage of it. For a lot of Americans, they want to open up the country. You know how it is. We want to be welcoming. We want to love people. We want them to have the best chances. Bring us your poor, your hungry, your needy, and all of that. But I don't think people that have ever dealt with the drug cartels or have ever dealt with this type of level of human trafficking really understand that saying that is just perpetuating the criminality that goes behind this instead of solving the problem.
No, there is a saying, and actually I wrote it. It's strategic intelligence and knowledge of a place. You don't get it up in the clouds or in front of a computer screen. You have to get dust on your boots. You have to be in the ground. You have to be there. And that's a lot of what happens when it comes to policy from other countries towards smaller countries, right? A lot of these geniuses somewhere think that they know what's happening because someone has told them how it is. Unfortunately, they never come to these countries to actually know and understand what's going on and what's happening. They just get one side of the story. And that's how entire policies get wrecked and misused, abused, and criminally used as well, in my opinion. I'm not saying that there is a lot of people with good intentions, but with intentions comes responsibility, I mean, especially if you can act on them, and you have to really know what you're doing and what is it that you are sending, because if you're just sending help, aid, and all that stuff without knowing where it's going to go or how is it going to be used, even maybe it's going to be used against the culture of the country you're trying to help. What you're doing is you're just creating another enemy in another part of the world.
Mario, that's a really great point. And you and I have talked about this before. And I want you to just explain it just a little bit more so people know where you're coming from, because we send a lot of money to Central America. We have with the United Nations, the State Department, funding this, funding that. And a lot of times this is just really kind of like almost payola to some people,
Correct. And again, because unfortunately, a lot of this money gets lost in a network of NGOs in each country that then funnel it back to the United States, and then it comes back to Latin America. But it's just paid for advisors and big thinkers and studies that never go there. So again, what's used to actually help people is probably less than 5% of each project, I would be surprised if you have 100% of success with a specific project in any country. The sad part of it is that certain people tend to have pet projects either by ideology or by friendship or whatever, and then they just get the money to those projects and they think they're doing something good, but it's so minuscule and sometimes so useless that it's not doing good, and you're just wasting our taxpayers' money. I'm a Sara because I pay U.S. taxes as well. I'm a veteran. I can see also these things, and I understand how the U.S. government works. And it's just, it exacerbates your patience when it comes to how the United States is supposed to be a good neighbor, a good partner. But then you see the manipulation of all these things. It's just not good.
We had a long conversation about, the various administrations and what would need to be done to build better relationships with Guatemala. I mean, after all, we are neighbors. We are in the same hemisphere. Our nations are I would hope building stronger diplomacy is important for us, especially when we're protecting ourselves against outside threats. Those threats. You've seen them. We have seen that. We have seen what happens, the corridors, how it's used by nefarious organizations as well from overseas. So you've had to work really close with the United States in that capacity. And I know you can't talk a lot about that, but if you were to give advice to the Biden administration, if they were to say, let's bring Mario Duarte in and I want to hear what he has to say, you have a little smirk there. You never know, because you did do a lot of great work in Guatemala. If they were to bring you in, what would you advise them? How would you advise them on these issues?
Well, it's always an honor meeting the President of the United States, my Commander-in-Chief, if I was still in the U.S. Army. At the end, it's about understanding what the countries need and what is it that the countries can help themselves with. It's not about imposing ideas or great ideas. Unfortunately, some people just have great ideas that are not that good anyway, or they're poorly executed. And just understand and talk to the neighbors and talk to the other countries, talk to the leadership. Don't allow small interest groups to dictate what U.S. foreign policy needs to be. There is a lot of voices in each country. There are always 2, 3, 4 sides of a story. And unfortunately, I have seen that in many countries for the most part, embassies tend to listen only to one side of the story. And I'm not talking about only the United States. I'm talking about even Guatemala, Colombia, Austria, Germany. They usually only get one side of the story because they tend to have their favorite people to listen to. Here, you have to listen to everyone. Otherwise, it's just, another mistake that has been done in the past, and you're going to do it again and again and again, and you're not just going to teach anything.
Let's talk a little bit before we get off. First, I want to let everyone know that you also have a podcast that you are starting. Mario is amazing. I could listen to Mario for hours and hours and hours and hours. I loved being in Guatemala with you and your family, your beautiful family. But let's talk a little bit about your podcast.
So my podcast is called Chaos Podcast. It's something very friendly at the end. What I'm trying to do is get people from mainly Guatemala to speak about what they have done with their lives, right? Right now I have interviewed a singer from Guatemala, Carlos Peña, who actually won an Emmy. He was nominated to another Emmy this past year, but unfortunately he didn't make it. I have interviewed three mountaineers from Guatemala that they have all reached the peak of the Everest. I have talked to a great guy, Javier Pereira. He is the CEO of this bespoke shoe brand here in Guatemala. They already, selling shoes to Hollywood stars like Antonio Banderas and others.
They're selling shoes, like cool shoes, like Antonio Banderas is running around. Like, I didn't even know this was going on in Guatemala. This is awesome.
It's a bespoke brand. So these are elegant shoes, leather made. They have certain designs, but then they talk to you. They measure you, obviously. And Javier gets to read your personality and just gives it those little touches that make that pair of shoes yours.
Well, I can't wait to listen to the show. Is it all in Spanish or is it in English too?
Right now, it's all in Spanish, obviously, because it's targeted. Our main target is the people here in Guatemala, mainly millennials, so that they know there are actual opportunities in our country. There is people that have done a lot of things here. It's just a matter of having heart, embracing the suck when it comes, but just do what's in your heart and go get it.
I'm so glad that you're interviewing all these innovators in Guatemala. It's because the more the economy grows in Central America, in countries in Guatemala and Honduras and El Salvador, the more people won't feel like they have to leave. And the only way to really combat poverty, is to bring the economy up and also fight corruption, which is a big deal, for both of us. We talk about that quite often, and exposing it and sharing stories with one another. So I hope, Mario, this is not the last time you come on my show, because I feel like you have opened up my eyes to so much. Before we get off, though, I'm going to give the last word to you. We're facing a lot of challenges right now in the United States, some that I find very frightening. But I believe we're going to make it. I believe we're going to get through this period. What do we need to do as neighbors? What can we do to work together to kind of overcome some of these obstacles, at least that we've faced in the Western Hemisphere over the last decade? Poverty, immigration.
First off, I don't mean to sound poetic, but it will come out like that. Our flag is still there, right? We're still a United States of America. We are a big country, the country that helps the most out around the globe through any administration. You can compare any administration of the United States, and it triples any aid that any other country gives. It's about focus, I think. What are the bigger threats coming towards the United States from other countries? Focus on those things from the government side, and then there are people like us, like strict global diplomacy that actually can make sure that other players can talk to each other. Business people, we are big on the power and expansion of capitalism when it's used to help countries develop. Though there are other actors like us that actually can bridge those huge gaps that are between countries, the United States and other countries. We need to get people to talk to each other. We need countries to talk to each other. We need innovators and business people to talk to each other and find those big opportunities for everyone. If there are opportunities, there is development. If there is development, there is happy people, and there is no need to immigrate.
That's just the fundamental truth. And nobody wants to flee their nation. Nobody wants to leave their country behind and go someplace new. People come because of something that has pushed them out, either corruption, war, disease, famine, natural disaster, or many times just plain extraordinary poverty. And we have to find a way to help them without allowing the criminal elements and the drug cartels and all the bad guys take advantage of it, even those political players. And we got to do it the right way. Mario, thanks so much for being with us. I've learned so much from you. You're always welcome back at the Sara Carter Show. You know, things are so crazy right now, and our world feels so upside down that sometimes we just got to take a little step back and have a little fun. I want you to hear this mashup. It's amazing. It's with John Brennan and Blazing Saddles.
And it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of
muckers, buggerers,
religious extremists, authoritarians,
bushwhackers, hornswagglers,
fascists, bigots,
horse thieves, bull dykes,
racists, nativists,
train robbers, bank robbers, ass kickers, shit kickers,
even libertarians,
and Methodists.
I sometimes feel like when I'm watching that right now, like that's exactly how my soul feels. It just feels like, oh, there's so much angst, right? Because our world is just so upside down. And we know there's going to be so many fundamental changes. I'm just going to go over some of this. I have it here on my trusty iPhone right here. And it's about how things are going to change. I mean, Biden I don't even know what's going to happen in 4 years, but we know what happened in one day. And it's completely different. So over the last 4 years, we've seen fundamental changes in the United States, enforcement of border security, which we talked about with Mario Duarte, and all things changing in the Middle East. We ended the Iran deal, but this is what's happened in one day with Joe Biden. Construction on the border wall is stopped. Illegal immigrants will be counted in the United States census. The Keystone Pipeline has been canceled. So sorry about all of you folks that were working there on the Keystone Pipeline. That has been canceled. Thousands of jobs lost. Lives destroyed, basically. Bye-bye. See you later. We're going to go back to buying stuff from the Middle East because that works so well for us. Rejoin the World Health Organization. That's awesome because, the WHO basically lied to us over and over again, and we give them tons of money, and then they just keep lying to us. And, oh, by the way, they hold hands with China, or maybe they're just in bed with China. That's nice. The Communist Chinese Party has the World Health Organization. We're going back to them. And their terrible handling of the coronavirus. Remember, it wasn't communicable person to person. At least that's what they told us, because they believe China. This is a good one. He's reversed the travel ban to keep radical terrorist groups out of the United States. That's awesome because they were saying, right, Biden was saying, we're reversing this like racist ban against Muslim nations, right? No, it was not against all Muslim nations. It was places like Syria, Yemen, countries in Africa where the governments are so fragile, they're broken governments where they don't even vet their own citizens. Many people don't even have birth certificates, or they can't verify who they are. So those countries, they want to be able to send, people from there, want to bring them to the United States without their nations taking the appropriate measures to ensure that our national security is well protected. You see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going here? Why? Why hashtag America last for the Biden administration? Why is that? The Paris Accord, right? Everything. There's nothing there, right? Unless you want to say America first because part of their move is going to be like racial equality or something, but they're going after, like we said at the beginning of the show, anyone who was a MAGA supporter. And they're basically making anybody who believed in America first or supported President Trump a terrorist. That's pretty much what they're saying. You're either a white supremacist or a terrorist. Watch out. We're expanding our laws. So in the next 4 years, mark my words on this. They are going to expand. It's like Patriot Act on steroids, but in the United States. They're going to be listening in on phone calls. If they suspect you of domestic terrorism, they're not going to tell you what laws you need to break or what you need to say. They're just going to say, oh, this person suspected Judge of being a domestic terrorist. We're going to have to listen to their phone calls. Mark my words. It's going to expand those powers. Our Fourth Amendment is just going to go way off to the wayside. It's a fundamental change in America, not for the better, not for the better. Oh, and by the way, just so you all know, President Biden has now made it mandatory. So if any of you out there are on federal property or you work for the federal government, you got to wear your mask all the time, unless you're Biden and his grandkids, because apparently they all went to visit the Lincoln Memorial and they were pictured without any masks on, walking around the Lincoln Memorial, just doing their own thing. I thought he said, that it was like required, like we were, basically if you don't wear your mask, I mean, you were un-American. You were unpatriotic. We got to wear our masks to prove that we're patriots. Apparently they didn't. So less than 2 hours after Biden posted this tweet, wearing masks isn't a partisan issue. It's a patriotic act that can save countless lives. That's why I signed an executive order today issuing a mask mandate on federal property. It's time to mask up, America. Mask up. Less than 2 hours later after that tweet was posted, Biden himself was photographed on federal property without a mask. Welcome to the new America, folks. It's going to be a crazy ride, a roller coaster ride. But guess what? You can't break the American spirit. You just can't break it. It's awesome. It's there. You and I together are going to expose these hypocrites in Washington, D.C. the way we have all along for the last 4 years. We are not going to let up because guess what? We have a real reason to fight for something. We have a real reason to believe that our freedom counts, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it by utilizing our constitutional rights, our First Amendment rights of free speech, and we are going to expose them, and we will expose them every day, and I will never tire. I will never walk away. I will never stop fighting for my country, and guess what? Neither will you, and we'll expose these guys, and we won't be ashamed to do so. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. Remember, we love to read your reviews. Please give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Spotify, iTunes, wherever that is. And remember, go to SaraCarter.com. That way you can find links to all of my social media and we can stay in touch. Well, except for Parler, because now they shut that down. We're going to talk about that next time. Thank you again. God bless you. God bless my friend Dan Bongino, who's been just a real trooper and open about his battle against cancer, and praying for him every day. And thank you so much. We're taking the story back. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Weber, the CEO of the Association for Mature American Citizens. It's also known as AMAC. The most important question, I think, for so many people out there is, how much does AMAC membership cost? What does it cost the regular consumer?
Yeah, so for $16 a year, okay, or less, you can join at a 1, 3, or 5-year membership. You get a couple of things. You get the benefits. You get a great subscription to a magazine. So for $16, you're going to receive a bi-monthly magazine. But your voice is now going to be heard in Washington. We take our marching orders from you. If you stand for faith, family, freedom, if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe in the greatness of America, if you believe in individual freedoms and everything you just said, Sara, $16 is not a lot of money to join the 2.3 million members that are really fighting hard to ensure that America remains the best country in the world.
Rebecca, thanks so much for being with me today. I'm honored to have you and AMAC as a sponsor for the Sara Carter Show. For more information, folks, visit amac.us/Carter.